Good afternoon, Year 5, and welcome to your science lesson. Now, last week, hopefully you guys all had a go at using various household objects to explore how you can change the pitch of different things. This week we're looking at volume, and because everybody has got slightly different things at home, I thought I would use this as an opportunity for us to hit some of our working scientifically objectives. So let me go through first of all our previous learning questions, and then I'll explain to you what your task today is. And your task today links into your task tomorrow as well. So if you were looking for materials to make a raincoat, what properties would you look for? What sorts of things? I don't want to know what materials, I want to know what would you look for in those materials? What would those materials have to be? Describe what happens to most trees across the 4 seasons. I said most trees because there are some evergreen trees which stay with their leaves all year round. And then how would you make a wind instrument create a low pitched noise? Think about how we made a lower pitched noise last week with our answer those questions on the scaffold in teams, and then when you're done with that, come back to me. Okay, let's have a look and see. So if you were trying to make a raincoat, you would want a material that was waterproof, flexible, warm, durable, relatively strong. All of those things would be really, really important. We did talk a little bit about that when we looked at my ski jacket as well. So what happens to most trees across the 4 seasons? I've sort of very briefly summed it up. In winter, they've got no leaves because there's not enough sun for them to be able to photosynthesize. In spring, they have leaves and they've got buds and flowers growing. Summer, they've got leaves, and then in autumn, the leaves starts to fall off. And if you were trying to create a lower pitch noise with a wind instrument, you would want to have the longest version of it to do that. Okay, so here are some of the key vocabulary that we need to use today. So source, vibrate, and vibration, we've all had a look at before, so you can have another look at those ones. Volume is how loud or quiet a sound is. Decibels is the unit of measurement used to measure a sound's volume. And a variable is something in an experiment that is or can be changed. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. And here are your working scientifically skills. And I have circled planning different types of inquiry, controlling variables where necessary, because your job is going to be to plan your own experiment based on what we are looking at today. And hopefully that will make a little more sense to you as I go through the lesson. So we're looking at volume today. And volume means how loud or quiet a sound is. And it's measured in decibels, which is shown as dB a lot of the time. So the higher the decibels, the louder the sound is. We know that sound travels and is created through vibrations. The sound waves make whatever the sound is traveling through, whether it's a solid, a liquid, or a gas, vibrate. And as we get further away from the source of the sound, the vibrations gradually become weaker, which is why as you're further away, the sound gets quieter and quieter. And it's why if I make a noise here, not everybody in the world can hear it. The stronger the vibration, the louder the sound. And you can see this by clapping with different forces. If you do a light clap, then you're not going to get much noise. But if you do a louder clap with a lot more effort, then you will get a much louder noise. So today you're going to design your own experiment to carry out tomorrow. And you're going to be finding out how far sound can travel. You will all have access to different things, which is why I thought that this made more sense for you guys to plan this experiment. I will tell you what we would have done in school, and you can possibly try and modify that or use variants of that, or just use that one, which is absolutely fine. There are some things that you will need to think about. You need to think about the different variables in your experiment, or those are the things that will change. You should have control of one of those variables, and then you should be measuring the other variable. So in this experiment, the one you have control of is how far away from the sound you are, and the one you'll be measuring is the volume, or whether you can hear it or not. You will need to have a think about how you're going to make it a fair test. If the source of the sound is here, and you're standing here, to start with, as you move further away, you need to make sure that the source is still giving out the same sound. Otherwise, it's not going to be a fair test. So how are you going to make sure that your source is always doing the same sound? For example, if someone was hitting a frying pan with a wooden spoon, how would you make sure that they were always hitting it with the same volume? You'll need to think about how you're going to measure it as well. Are you going to use formal or informal methods? Now, what that means is that there's two things that you're going to be measuring. One is the volume of the sound, and you can do that through listening to see if you can hear it, or measuring using decibels. Now, if you've got an iPad or an iPhone, there are apps that you can get for free that can measure the volume of something, and that can be used here. But if you're going for an informal method, then it can be something as simple as I stopped hearing it at this stage. Same with how far away you are from the sound. Are you going to measure it in paces, which is informal, or in meters and centimeters, which is formal? You'll need to make sure that when you share your method and when you're writing your method up, it's comprehensive enough and detailed enough that somebody else could pick it up and carry out your experiment if they wanted to check your results. So you'll be carrying out the experiment tomorrow. So today you're just planning it. And if we had been doing this in school, what we would have done is we would have had two things. We would have used constant source of sound, which would have been either an iPad playing a sound at the same volume for the whole time, or something electronic so that we knew that the volume would be exactly the same. And we would have used paces to see how far away from the sound we would have got. And we would possibly have used the a decibel app on an iPad, or we would have just been able to see if we could hear it or not. So that's what your job is for today, to come up with that experiment. And then tomorrow we are going to carry that out. I've put a template into Teams so that you've got something that you know what you need to talk about. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing them. And hopefully tomorrow we will be able to carry out some excellent experiments.